Get ready and tune into the Doctor's Guide podcast, Raw and Unfiltered, a unique platform to help you optimize your health through dynamic role playing, real life challenges with expert guests and your host, Dr. Bart Rademaker. I'm Dr. Bart Rademaker, and this is the Doctor's Guide podcast, Raw and Unfiltered. And truly, it's raw and unfiltered because I truly don't know what to expect, what's going to come out of my mouth, and maybe my guest as well. And that's part of the whole fun of all of this. Because here's the truth about our health. There's so much information out there. And how do you actually filter that information out? How do you know what's believable, what's trustworthy, or what's not? And I think the best way, the quickest way to get to that information is finding the right people to talk to. And that's what I love about this show, because you're going to experience the authentic version of my guests and their wisdom and their magic so that you can reach out to them and get the wisdom and the roadmap towards your health. But here's also what I know that it's true, is that a lot of people out there, they've got these, great followings on their podcasts, and they supposedly have all the answers and everything else. And sometimes they do, but it's also context dependent. So they may have the solutions for some people, but not maybe not for you. And so the differentiator of this podcast is more about how is it that I help you or share with you the process by which you can navigate your own health. And that's the journey that you're going to want to take. How do you make the right decisions? And so how do we do that today? Because I don't know you personally. I don't know what your problems are, but I do know that what's universal is how we can effectively navigate that journey for all of us. And so I'm sharing with you the process by which we can do that. And we do that through role playing. And so with the wonderful guests that I have, one of them is going to present with a problem, and the other one's going to guide that one person to some sort of resolution of that particular problem. And so you might see yourself, and that's my hope, that in the whole process, either as the guide or the one coming up with a problem, and you might get triggered. And what's really important for me is that rather than just going out and judging the person, if you are judging the person, then you should look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, well, do I have the same problem? Because it may be something in their life, it may be something that they've experienced outside or they can relate to, or have a desire to share with you, something that's important to them that they want to impart in knowledge to you as well. So once again, the role play is going to be about 6 minutes. One's going to have the problem, one's going to have the resolution. And after that, what we're going to do is we're going to unpack all of that. We're going to talk about the different aspects of that so that you leave with some sort of insight, some sort of action step that you can now take. Perhaps you'll want to meet with them as well, which I hope you do, because I want to get these guests that really are awesome contributors for your journey as well. So I want to welcome both Sienna and Alice. I'll have each of you just briefly introduce yourself, and then we'll go into the role play for about 6 minutes. And after that, we'll unpack it for 10 or 15 and get you to hear or get you to share some incredible magic. So Sienna, I've known you for a while. I think you're an amazing doctor out there looking to create so much more magic outside of conventional medicine. I'm excited about that. But introduce yourself, and then I'll have Alice introduce herself, and then we'll do the role play. Go ahead, Sienna.
Yeah, screen. Hi, as you mentioned, I'm Dr. Sienna Steckel, who I'm allopathically trained, which means I'm an MD, and I've been working primarily night shifts in the emergency department for almost 2 decades now, and recently have been on a path of organically self-exploring what else is out there. And wow, is there a lot out there that is exciting and got me down a lot of rabbit holes with a lot of very unique cutting edge ways of tackling problems that I wasn't able to address in the emergency department. There's a time and a place for that role, but my goal, my passion now is how can I help assist, just being a conduit with helping people get out of their own way, both from whether it's a psychological block or a physical block. We want to feel better now. The outcome is I ideally maybe a longer life, so longevity or anti-aging, but that's not my goal. My goal is how can I help facilitate or guide somebody with all the different modalities out there, to find what fits them so that they can be who they want to be now.
So you're my perfect kind of doctor, one with the conventional training on the one hand, but this aspiration and inspiration and desire to master all the things outside of conventional medicine that could truly make a change for all of us. And so for anybody out there, you want to find a doc that can help you with that, Sienna Steckel is one of those. Alice, a brief introduction of yourself, and then we'll get to the role play. And I know Sienna will be in the hot seat for that.
My name is Alice Miller, and I am passionate about consciousness, raising my own and being of service to help anybody who's interested raise theirs. And the vehicle I've chosen is brainwave training programs that uses a unique application of neurofeedback training along with some exquisite protocols to help get you out of your own way, to unblock yourself and rise to your highest potential and live with a connection to self versus ego.
And I love that. And that's truly the new science that's really coming out. And Alice is clearly one of those pioneers, because the truth is that last time I checked, my head is connected to my body, and I'm sending all sorts of messages to the rest of my body. And if they're the wrong messages, my body's not going to work in the right way. And so that's simplifying what Alice is doing in a very complex manner to help assist you be as healthy as you can in ways that even I don't understand. And I'm super excited to learn more about it. So let's just jump in. So Sienna, you got a problem. And once again, listeners, you might get triggered about this. You might be judgmental about this. That's precisely the hope that I have, simply because then you're ready for a transformation if you're willing to take that step forward. Go ahead, Sienna.
Okay. All right. Here's where I get to be vulnerable. And this is actually a true story in a sense. So I thought I knew what neurofeedback was. I was mistaken, but gratefully got kind of thrown into the world, and unknowingly was seeking for a way to do what I couldn't do for myself. So two things that I always say is you don't know what you don't know, and you can't get out of your own way. And I could talk people under the table if it was a psychological issue, but I was having a hard time getting out of my own way, and not knowing really what my stumbling blocks were, both for either a failure to launch or what I would call imposter syndrome, or words that I knew, but just because I knew it up here, there was still something that was stopping me from taking action steps. And because I've spent my entire training and life living up here, I personally was having a challenge getting into my own body and trusting my intuition. And it was recommended and kind of came across energetically the opportunity to dive into what I knew it was called neurofeedback at the time. And so I'm coming to Alice now because I was recommended that she has a training, and I want to know more how this may help me get out of my own way.
So, Sienna, in what aspect of your life are you recognizing that you're getting into your own way? Where you might be holding yourself back or operating out of a pattern that no longer serves you?
That is a long list, most likely. A lot up until recently, it would be having the confidence to put myself out there. I would like to be the constant learner, and I was learning, I had all this information, but I wasn't applying it. So from a professional standpoint, it was actually taking action in with all the information that I'd acquired. So that was a big one, was why wasn't I taking that next step of putting it to use. We can dive into also the possible self-sabotage with relationships, or even habits that worked for me 20 years ago, but maybe aren't working so much now, and that yet I kept doing them. So the three would be actually stepping out and doing something with all the information that I learned. That was a big one. And then kind of that challenge of changing habits that used to work for me, particularly exercise, around the exercise world. We'll just pick that one.
Okay, so there's three things. Failure to initiate action, which we know we can identify in someone's brain based on the way they're wired, that they would have a propensity not to take action. And so you can attack it from a brainwave standpoint as well as a behavioral standpoint. So let's play with this one.
Okay.
In terms of failure to initiate action. Is it in every aspect of your life, or in one or two places in particular?
Things are changing now. I would say one or two. It was around where I thought there would be performance or criteria or judgment around how I'd come across in a professional standpoint. I have no problem when I'm in the ER. I know that gig, that one's fine. Confidence there, because I know it's familiar.
Yeah.
But it's where things aren't as familiar, or there may be, who are you to say X, Y, and do Z kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other would be particularly breaking a routine, a habit. That I'm a serial habit addict is how I would classify that behavior.
So let's start with, there's a few approaches that we could take with this. The first one I want to drill into a little bit, drill's a harsh word, but explore, is at what point, if you can remember the earliest time in your life where you stepped out and tried something and got the message, who do you think you are, or were made fun of, where it was not safe to try on something new?
That's a tough one. I'm guessing there were some times when I was a child, though I still, because kids are kids, and they're going to make fun of if they can. And I was very sensitive to personal responses. If it was something that was graded or academic, or like something that was more subjective, I was easier. But if it was open to opinion, so there's times when as a child would probably be the first couple of times with local kids. Second time, or the second time that it comes up is that what comes up to mind right now is in the ER setting, when going to a different site where there's a different culture, and I was the only female in a predominantly at the time male-run small town in the middle of nowhere, where they had a specific culture and structure. And that was so I noticed it took a lot of steps back at that time. So those are probably the two that really stick out.
I'm curious about being a little kid, and our adult mind, our logical mind can say, yeah, kids are like that. However, at that time of that experience, you're wiring yourself without the benefit of having, a 40-year-old, 45-year-old perspective. So give me an example of one of those times when other kids may have made fun of you, or made some comment?
I was rather precocious physically as a child. And so I was tall and just developed at a young age. And that was pointed out by kids. So it was, I think that was probably the one that stands out the most because it was the most sensitive thing to me at the time. And it's a small town. So it's a big fish in a small town. So there's a lot of one little, two little eyes. Now we didn't have, great, thankfully back then we didn't have social media. So I can only imagine what that may look like on a scale these days. So it's just a marker of how impactful those little things are. But that was the one that sticks out the most, that I was the most sensitive to is I wasn't prepared for the attention that I had when I was a kid.
Well, that's a really good one to look at, early impact of this idea that your body's developing, you're getting attention, unwanted attention, and you're not prepared for it. What I would have you do is do forgiveness on pick one of the kids who was most dominant in your mind and let them be the stand-in for all of that attention and charge them. You're going to forgive them for making fun of your development or making fun of your, however that lands for you, however you would say it, where it would have that feeling.
Okay.
How would you say it?
How would I charge them?
Mhm.
No, I know what you mean by charging. Don't know if we need to explain that.
Yeah, I'll explain it in a moment. I want to get
Okay.
your words.
Okay. Oh geez. At the time I wouldn't be able to. So as the adult charger, I would charge them for saying things they didn't realize were cruel. Or God, how would I word that? Do you mind helping me with what might be a
Making fun of your body?
there we go. Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah. That's what it was.
So,
It was
yeah.
only physical.
And how old were you roughly?
I want to say probably 11, 8 to 11, something like that. Probably 11.
Okay. So what I'm asking Sienna to do is to change where she's held that since she was 11 years old. So change where she's holding that in her brain, from a place of pain, a place of self-consciousness, and dissolving it so she's not holding that anymore. It's not impacting her day-to-day life as she continues. Notice that the same environment where it was a small town and you're in with a bunch of male doctors, predominantly male doctors, and you're female, and you held yourself back again. That same kind of closed environment. So what I would do is with forgiveness, what you're doing is you're charging the person from the perspective of whenever that pain happened. For in this case, it was 11 years old. And you're going to tap into the pain for 2 minutes, 4 minutes max. The only way we know at this point to change the brain where we're holding these things is to connect with the pain. And then after that, she's going to look for what good came out of the situation. And then she's going to continue into forgiveness, which could be compassion and understanding for them. It could be with her adult awareness that kids are always pointing out something unusual or different, or however that is. It could be gratitude. These same kids had other capacities and other behaviors and mannerisms that really were an asset to her life, and she can lean into those. So, or it could be nonlinear, and who knows what it looks like, because she's not doing it at the same level she's feeling. All right. She looks for the gift, what good came out of this, and then moves into another space by dropping the story, by dropping the pain, and finding love and forgiveness. It doesn't matter who they are or what they've done. And then, do you want to play with that? Do you want to give that a try?
Sure.
So take a moment. I'll walk you through if you want. I know you know how to do this. So if you want to close your eyes, the reason she's closing her eyes is that the moment she closed her eyes, her alpha went up. And that alpha is that relaxed, meditative, love, happiness, gratitude space. So bring the person in, one of the people, one of those kids, and have your 11-year-old charge them. And you can say it out loud. I charge you with.
Or I could do it by myself. I charge you with making fun of, I'll say, my body. I'll just leave it at that.
Now go back to that 11-year-old self and let her feel whatever was standing in the schoolyard, walking home, and having this unwanted attention. Maybe some remarks are made. Let yourself feel it. Once you've tapped into that feeling, I want you to move into the gift. What good came out of this situation? What did you learn? What did you experience? How did you avoid besmirching somebody else because of the way they looked? Do you want to tell us what your gift was?
Want me to keep my eyes closed?
Mhm.
At this point, it's far simpler to see the gift. I quickly realized how uncomfortable it was to. So the gift was empathy or sympathy, both actually, and of all my peers. And I, even to this day, and practice as a child, being very cautious of saying things or what was said. And it actually drew me closer to other kids that others may not have welcomed into their circle. Actually, those are the ones that I found to be my closest friends. So it really did help form, I feel, a level of compassion that I didn't even realize was being formed because of that.
Okay. And the reason Sienna's keeping her eyes closed is so she can stay in the state of that more elevated experience. So from there, find a way to forgive them. Again, you might lead into more gratitude for them. One of them might have become your best friend or helped you in school or did something. You might have the experience of compassion. They might have been self-conscious about their bodies. You might have seen in yourself where you at one time did make fun of somebody and how easy that is to do and have that kind of compassion and understanding. And find love for them. There's something about them that you can love. Whether you know them or you don't know them, there's always something that you can connect in with somebody. And then you want to do an act of forgiveness. It might be hugging them. It might be saying, I forgive you. It might be, doing a dance up Main Street. Did you find a way to forgive them? Tell me, what was your experience? You can open your eyes now.
Once I feel the compassion, to me, I'm always drawn to hug. It solidifies the physical feeling of the emotion, and it reminds me how one we are. But it also reminds me. So it was a hug, and the hug is almost like it felt like hugging another child who was just trying to navigate themselves and whether it's modeled and they didn't know how to voice what they really were feeling. And as my mom would say, they're just trying to get your attention. We don't know how to communicate. So it was like hugging one of those, like, so no.
That's awesome. Yeah. Yeah. So the reason why we wanted to zoom into the earliest memory of the kind, the space where you would step back versus emerging and moving forward, all of a sudden your body's emerging and moving forward, and you're not consciously aware of anything changing. However, the others are, you know, pointing it out and addressing it, and it's uncomfortable. So going to the root helps unpack and unfurl where we're holding stuff, where we're really stuck. And then what I would ask you to do is something we call a pattern interrupt. So in your mind, imagine you're wanting to bring something new into the world. You want to, you have so much to offer. So if there was, what thing would you say that you want to bring into the world, you want to share with friends and clients, that you're a little reluctant?
Yeah, and let's do that, and let's wrap it up. Okay.
Oh, well, we can do that. We can do that next
No,
time.
no. Answer the question.
Now you make- I was trying to wiggle my way out of it.
Yeah.
But no, that's what makes this so powerful because, oh, okay. So say it again. So what do I want to, what's keeping me from doing it? Or,
No, give me something that you are not,
Oh.
you're reluctant to go forward with.
Now I'm being a lot more, ooh. I think it's very easy for me to make suggestions, but to stand behind, I think, knowledge or acting like I never feel like I know enough. So I think what's keeping me from really speaking out is feeling I have to master the content, which is never possible. So it's just giving myself permission to even just share what I already know and understanding that I'm a continual learner and this is just what I know at this time.
Yeah.
And
Okay, so here's the exercise. We don't have to do it now, but this is the exercise I would give you. Is take yourself, and you've already felt what alpha felt like when you moved into love and forgiveness and you had that expanded state. So what you're going to do is you're going to get yourself in that expanded state. Of course, your eyes would be closed and you would allow yourself to get out of your little thinking mind. And as you're feeling that, might be a sense of peace, relaxation. Then you're going to you're going to have a client in front of you. You're going to explore speaking with them with what you really want to say and how you really want to say it. You want to put your passion behind it. You want to bring your knowledge to the table and your confidence. And go to the place where that's not happening, where it's wobbly and a little reluctant, little, push back. Let yourself feel that just for a minute and a half, and then shift into that alpha state again. Always keeping your eyes closed, expanding. Oh, this feels pretty good. Then go back, dip back into that place where I'm presenting in front of people. I might have a room full of physicians that I am telling them about the latest, greatest that I'm passionate about. And they're all judging you and ick and ooh for a minute and a half, and then punch back up into alpha, play, have sex, do gratitude, get yourself into that nice space, and then do that 3 or 4 times and come out of it at that heightened state. And then go do something else, and a little bit later do it again to the place where, yeah, it's not even a thing. Look out, world, here I come.
I love it.
thanks, Alice.
And just to be clear, I know Sienna personally. She is amazing. I've learned so many things from her. I think I know she doesn't give herself credit for what she knows and what she does. And she actually does more than she, I think, admits to herself. But anyhow, briefly, Sienna, what was that for you?
That actually took me back. When I did do this, it was the brainwave and the neurofeedback, and you're attached to probes and you're in your whole other world. But I didn't realize that it was so easy to start feeling that again just by even doing a little verbal exercise. It felt a little bit more familiar because I had done it in a very intense way before, but it's eerily calming and eerily empowering. And I don't say that lightly because but I just don't. But it gets exciting, and like shoulders go down, and no, it felt really good, really good.
Yeah, we could see that in your face, by the way. It was beautiful. It was beautiful.
I
to
can't hide
watch.
my face, so
No, it was beautiful to watch, and well done, Alice, on that. Alice, what was that for you?
It was good. I was a little hesitant to do this role playing at the
Yeah.
beginning, and then I found myself sliding into it and enjoying the interchange. And yeah, it was fun.
So what I want the listener to know is that, and I'm going to simplify, the complexity of what work Alice does, and then I'm going to give her a quick opportunity to make any corrections or amplify anything that I just shared. But basically is that as we are developing as a child, we develop all these programs, these patterns of behavior, of thinking, of being, and all that kind of stuff. A lot of these downloads are given to us, and our immature brain has no way to process that. And then within individual experiences, if the emotional intensity is very high, then we're building these neural networks or neural pathways or even neural highways that are ingrained in our brain that cause us to think and be and behave in a certain way. And so the more emotional content there's there, the higher, the stronger those pathways are. And so basically through the process of the incredible work that Alice has pioneered, you can change those neural pathways to either eliminate them and replace them with others. Because the reality is that we are emotional beings. We've got these memories associated with our emotions. Our brain is a set of complex and neural networks that are working together. And when we have behavior that doesn't serve us, then it's worthwhile either through what Alice mentioned earlier, whether it's behavioral or neurofeedback. And I know she'll be able to enlighten us more about more of that. We purposely went over this time because it's such a beautiful role play. But Alice, I'm going to hand you the microphone real quick for the next 2-3 minutes, and then we do have to wrap it up because I know I want to keep the podcast to a certain length. But what can you enlighten us based on what I just shared just now that people can relate to, and why neurofeedback is so critically important for people to embrace? And then we'll just wrap it up with final words from both of you.
So, Bart, what you said is absolutely 100% accurate. From the time we're born, and now there's new science that says in vitro as well, the last trimester. However, these patterns continue on, and we continue to wire, and then we reinforce them and amplify them, etc. And we find ourselves maybe acting out of a 3-year-old pattern or a 5-year-old pattern, and we're 35, 55, or whatever, and it's not really serving us anymore. We've all seen the CEO have a 5-year-old tantrum in the boardroom, and you can see it. It's like, that guy's 5 years old in this now moment. So to be able to connect in and change where you're holding things, allows you to free up your real estate so that you end up with a quieter mind. You end up being more present in the moment and not reacting all over the place from something you can't even consciously be aware of. And so when you're using neurofeedback, you are getting real-time immediate feedback on your own brain, so you can make changes very quickly and very effectively. On a rising pattern, as you're forgiving, you're clearing out those neural pathways, and then if you rescript it, you are generating new ones. So you end up upgrading, and showing up in life much more true to your authentic self.
Yeah, and I can only kind of give a metaphor that I'm just kind of creating. So imagine you got all these appliances and computers and monitors and everything else, and you got all these wires, right? And just, what happens if one of those wires is a little exposed because they're insulated, right? And you get a spark and everything goes on fire. So maybe that's what happens when, those past memories, kind of boil up in the moment. When, say, like what just happened now, probably the weather screwed up the Wi-Fi, and then we lost you for a second, and then you could have gotten upset, but you didn't, or I could have gotten upset and I didn't, and you don't even know why. And so I think that's true. And so I think what the work that you're doing is so incredibly important, especially, nowadays that with all these advanced technologies, we all can become better people.
Mhm. And just add one more thing, and that is, I'm standing on the shoulders of pioneers.
And that's what the true pioneers say about themselves. So thank you. You are a pioneer. So how do people get a hold of you, Alice? And then we'll go to Sienna and we'll wrap it up.
Externalizemind.com. So X instead of EX, externalizemind.com. And my name's Alice. So you can email me, alice@externalizemind.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
Sienna,
What am I talking about?
how do people get a hold of you?
Oh, good question. That's still in process.
Okay.
I have a website, but honestly, I don't know if I want to direct people there because it's not quite reflective. So for as far as an email goes, you can do drsiennas@gmail.com. So it's drsiennas@gmail.com. I'm also working out of the Biohack Lab in Fort Lauderdale. So there's a whole team here that are easy to get a hold of me. So yeah, that's coming.
Well, I am truly honored to be in the presence of giants like yourselves. Even though you might not think you are, I can absolutely vouch for both of you. The kind of work that you're doing is the work that we need more of, because it's the very people that have no idea of what's possible is what you're going to make possible for them. And so I really appreciate all that. That's also the purpose of my podcast, The Doctor's Guide. Podcast, raw and unfiltered, to uncover these truths. That was a beautiful interplay of what is possible between two people, one presenting with a problem and one coming up with some form of resolution. Many times we just do it in 6 minutes. You guys did it in 20, and you had an incredible breakthrough, which I'm glad people can witness that, because that means it's possible. So one phrase I just recently learned: if they can do it, you can do it. They can do it, I can do it. And that is so true. And so for you, Sienna, by the way, if I may add some insights, which I share to myself, if you've seen somebody else do those things that you want to do, you can do it too. So that's why I'm here. So once again, I want to thank you both. My name is Dr. Bart Rademaker. This is the Doctor's Guide podcast, raw and unfiltered, bringing to you the insights and action steps that you can take. My hope is that you reach out to Alice and Sienna with any of your personal needs, or at least find out the path that works for you. And that's my mission. Once again, thank you, and I will be back. Thank you for listening to The Doctor's Guide, an innovative approach to help you navigate the complexities of your health journey with Dr. Bart Rademaker and his expert guests. Tune in to more insights and action steps in our next episode every weekday at 6 p.m. Eastern.